Lightweights versus heavyweights. Which one is better? What's up guys, it's Tyrone with LDU Fitness, and in today's video we're going over lightweights versus heavyweights and which one you should use, which one is better. So I'm gonna answer that question for you right now. So lightweights and heavyweights. So with lightweights, you're typically going for higher reps and you're going all the way to failure. With lower reps, you're typically going with a heavyweight, you're typically going for lower reps and you're chasing strength. That's typically the consensus. That's what everybody seems to believe, is that when you go with lightweight, you're going for hypertrophy. When you're going for heavyweights, you're going for power. So the people going with heavyweights will tend to violate the form. You'll find a guy doing incline dumbbell press, his glutes coming off the bench like a dumbass, right? Injuring his back, unknowingly, because he's chasing what? Power. He wants to see the number increase on the dumbbells. He wants to see the 40 dumbbell go to the 50 dumbbell, the 50 dumbbell go to the 60 dumbbell, and so on and so forth. So that's what the guy doing the heavyweights will be doing. The guy doing the lightweights with higher reps is chasing hypertrophy. This guy seems to believe that if he takes a lighter weight and just reps it out all the way to failure, then he's gonna build muscle mass, right? Of course, he'll be executing it under strict form, which is going to assist him to build muscle mass. So what I believe here is that all roads lead to gains, right? All the roads lead to gains, right? So muscle needs to be taken to absolute failure during a workout session in order to see maximum growth. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't take your muscle to failure, you will not see any growth. But what I am saying is that if you want to see the maximum potential of your muscle, if you want to see maximum gains, you have to take your muscle to absolute failure. Empty the fucking tank when you're in the gym. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. So back to the lightweight versus heavyweight. So here, if you do both with strict form, right? If you do both with the correct form, if you control the weight in both, you will see maximum gains. But to determine whether to use lightweights or heavyweights on particular muscle groups, you need to understand the difference between slow twitch muscle fibers and fast twitch muscle fibers. Alright? So you need to understand the difference between the two. So if you go to slow twitch muscle fibers, slow meaning slow to fatigue, right? Hence the term slow twitch muscle fibers. They are slower to fatigue, right? Slow twitch. Right, so you would need to train them with higher reps. Why? Because they are slower to fatigue. So if you use higher reps, then you're going to fatigue them a lot faster, right? If you use the higher reps, therefore you'd be using lighter weights for this. Because if you go with a heavy weight, what you're going to experience is an involuntary slowing of the movement. You're going to be slowing down. Like at some point, you're going to reach failure. Even when you don't feel that burn, that feeling of failure, at some point you are going to reach failure, which is why you would need to use lighter weights, because that muscle fiber is slower to fatigue, right? So and then you can use like 1 or 2 heavy compound movements depending on your strength level. You can, like let's say now if it's legs and predominantly the slow twitch muscle fibers. So you're going to want to use the machines to kind of fatigue the muscle a bit faster. Then you can go in with 1 or 2 heavy compound movements, be squats, RDL, you know what I mean? So that's how you do it. Hip thrust, heavy compound movements, right? So with fast twitch muscle fibers, it's the opposite, faster to fatigue, right? Hence fast twitch, faster to fatigue. So this one would need like heavier weights with lower reps, right? Some moderate to light weight in order to acquire that failure, that point of failure, that burn that you want to feel, that total failure. So you can go with some moderate or light weight. So maybe you went with the heavy compound movements first, and you went to failure on both, and then after that you went into the machines and you just took it all the way to failure. Now that's how you train the fast twitch muscle. So what's my final verdict here, bro? You know what I'm saying? You need to use both. You can't say, okay, in all my workouts, I'm going to use heavy weights. I'm going to, or in all my workouts, I'm going to use light weights. That's the way to go, etc. You know what I'm saying? So my final verdict is you need to use both, right? heavy weights are important because, muscle is built through progressive overload. You cannot you cannot use light weights through and through. You can't do that. Like, at some point you're gonna reach some kind of plateau. You're gonna reach the point where it's like the maximum gains you can make using light weights, using the training the slow twitch muscle fibers, right? You're gonna reach that point. So muscle is built through progressive overload. So you need to consistently challenge the muscle. When you consistently challenge the muscle, you are forcing that muscle to adapt, right? So if you force that muscle to adapt, what does it do? It grows. Why does it grow and adapt? To be able to sustain you being able to lift those heavy weights, right? It needs to grow and adapt for you to be able to sustain lifting those heavy weights. You know what I mean? So my final verdict is to use both. So with the fast twitch muscle fibers, you predominantly, find this in your upper body, chest, back, right? Your big muscle groups on your upper body. So you need to start off with the basic compound movements: bench press, deadlift, right? Very basic compound movement. So if it's chest, I like to use chest as an example. So I'll do incline dumbbell press and decline bench press. So those are two compound movements, very basic, right? And then you finish with machines, right? So you go with the compound movements, you go low reps, and then you go to the machines, because yes, your upper body has fast twitch muscle fibers and slow twitch muscle fibers still, right? So you will do the higher reps for the muscle fibers that are slower to fatigue, right, on the machines, right? So I use chest as an example. So I'll be going on like chest, I'll go incline dumbbell press, then decline bench press. My muscle will be completely tired out from that. Then I'll go now into the machines and I'll do high reps. Like, I'll now do chest press, and then I'll go into the flies, and I'll do dips, right? And I'll take those to total failure, absolute failure. You know what I mean? So when you go to the slow twitch muscle fibers, you're going to want to pre-exhaust the muscle fiber with machines. This is a muscle group that's predominantly slow twitch muscle fibers. So pre-exhaust with machines, then finish with the heavy compound movements, and then do a couple of finishes. So I use legs as an example for this. You can also do this on arms, where you pre-exhaust it with the machines, and then you maybe do like some hammies, you go into leg press, and then after that, now you go and you start doing walking lunges, and then you do the squats, and then you go into the finishers doing leg extensions, then doing calf raises or something like that. So that's pretty much how I do it. So you need to use both. You need to train both the slow twitch muscle fibers and the fast twitch muscle fibers. This is pretty much the best plan you can do for bodybuilding. If you want to see if you want to see the maximum potential of your muscle, if you want to see maximum gains, this would absolutely be the way to do this, right? Now, don't be the guy that goes, okay, I'm going to just do light weights and chase the higher reps and go to failure. And don't be the same dude that's saying, I'm going to go for heavy weights and low reps. You need to do both. You need to challenge the muscle consistently if you want to see the best potential from your muscle. That's it for this week's video. I'll see you next time.
With you, cause you niggas too lame. Thought it was real, now they look at me strange. Go more, cause I ain't trying to maintain. Said it before and I know I won't change. Gave so much, there was money saved. Compete with myself, I'm stuck in that risky time. When you figure I live in my midst. That road that I paved, only me I could take.